Okay. Hey, here with another video. This time I thought about talking about my experiences with the Akashic Records. I feel like it might be a very interesting topic to talk about, so let's get into it. I remember when I first went to Akashic Records, I was astral projecting, and I lifted myself up, with the resonance of the Akashic Record. And so I went to the higher realms. That's where they're located. As you all might know from research, it's a very enormous library. Like, the books and the shelves just expand like endlessly for like miles. It's kind of incredible. When I went there the first time, I was created by this librarian, and he was a winged being, the white robe, looked kind of like an older gentleman, and he was very polite and stuff. He said, come on in, feel free to look at whatever, and so the entrance of the Akashic Records is almost like a rise or like a balcony, and when you're standing there, you can see all the books. Like, you're like really high up, you can see all the books just like expanding. But on top of that, in the very back, you see, I'm not sure what this is. I don't know if it's a being or if it's just part of the architecture of the Akashic Records, or if it has a greater purpose, but it's like a kind of orb. And in the orb, it's kind of rotating, but there's like 2 or 3 rings that are rotating around the orb. But it's completely massive. It's a massive object. And compared to all the other shelves, you see that endlessly. The book, it takes up like all of that space. It's huge. Sorry about that. Car came by. I didn't want to audio pick that up. Anyways, so depending on what you are resonating with, that's where it's almost as though it will pull your body towards the book that's resonating with what you are trying to find in the Akashic Records. And something I've noticed when I went there, to some degree, you have to have some kind of telepathic ability, because the language in which the books are written in is different than English or whatever, or any earthly language. It's in a foreign language. So in some cases, the book will actually speak to you what is on the pages, which I found was also pretty interesting. Almost like an automatic voice book. So I remember the first time when I went there, I was researching certain topics that I might explain later on in the future. I was trying to find certain information to kind of confirm what I was feeling or sensing. And so, even though I kind of knew what I was feeling was true, I kind of had a bit of disbelief in my own ability. This was in the past, however, but I had a kind of a disbelief in my own abilities, and so I was kind of seeking help or guidance from an outside source. And so I decided to go to Akashic Records, and that's how I, became familiar with that kind of system. Another time I went there, I went there with a friend. For confidentiality, I'm gonna give him an alias. Let's call him Alan. This is really gifted 13-year-old kid who able to astral project, see other beings, even energy world. Very, very cool kid. I remember one day, Alan and I were like, hey, we should go to Akashic Records together. I was like, dude, I've never been there with anybody else, other than my spirit guides or my guardian angels. I would totally love to do that. And so, we went there and stuff, and we went to the entrance, walked through, and started. He was pulled in a different direction than I was because he wanted to look at certain information. I wanted to look at my own thing, and we were kind of just there. Another feature that the Akashic Record has is that there's a lot of different spiritual beings there as well, and they're all very peaceful, all very like loving, and they're super awesome. They're just like just like us who are just doing their own thing and trying to find certain things in there. Really cool stuff. And you can't say the environment is like super peaceful. It's so like relaxing. It's really like very zen area. Anyways, in regards to our trip, my friend Alan stumbled upon this one book, and it had like a map. The map was blank, and so he was talking to me, and he called me over. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. I went to where he was, and I was looking at the map, and the map was blank. It just showed water. It didn't just show anything else. And we were just like, okay, that's very interesting. Why is there a blank map? And so we proceeded to try to like listen to what the book was saying, but we couldn't understand anything. But then he saw this glyph, and the glyph had like almost like a fire around it. And basically the glyph was telling him that you need to be able to use fire or fire energy or elemental energy in order to access this particular map. And so because we're both pretty accustomed with energy wielding, I was able to help out with that because I was able to use fire elemental energy. And so I had to heat up the book in order for the land masses of the map to appear. And once they did, it showed a part of I'm not going to say what it is because I'm not going to I'll say some things. I won't say too much though. It showed the east coast of the United States, and it showed a particular island off the coast in between Maryland, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. There was this island off the coast, and with this island, there was this sort of like mark on there, and this mark began to glow, and for certain reasons, we didn't really understand why it was glowing. And then I remembered. I remember at the time we were trying to think about all these different things and these different ideas of how we can, find out more about this island, why it's glowing and stuff. And I remember one of the librarians were listening in on our conversation, and my friend Alan looked over, and he saw me. The librarian was just like laughing because like he was just like, "Oh look, they're trying to figure out some stuff. That's freaking awesome." And we're just like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I would love to know more about this. And it's just like, it became like really like beautiful moment. Eventually we did find some more things. What happened was you needed a certain key, and whatever that key was, it gave access to that island. I don't know for sure that island actually exists or not, but unless you had the key, you wouldn't be able to find out more access of that island. And for my interpretation, I believe, is that the key needed to access more information for the book. It was a key needed to actually access the island in reality. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure if it exists or not, but we both saw the same island off the coast of, in the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of the east side of the United States. So that was a really interesting experience I had there. Because one, it showed that, if you want to be able to access certain things, you have to tap in more into your own self in order to get more out of the Akashic Records. And not even with that, is that if you may not have a certain trait or ability to where you can try to gain access to something, it requires teamwork, and you need to bring people together in order to find more knowledge and become more aware. overall, which I found was really awesome. Really interesting experience. And to be honest, ever since then, I haven't really gone with him like since then, because I moved away and I've been way too busy this past year with a lot of interesting things that I will be talking about in later videos. A lot of crazy things that's happened this year, both in the spiritual world and my own world. Like so many crazy things has happened, and I would love to talk about all of those with you guys some other time. That is it. I'll see you guys later.